just start somewhere. Like if you get all this, there's so much noise out there on like what to do and what to start with, especially with data, like what tools you use and software in general or tech in general. The advice that I'll give to you is don't follow where the noise is. Follow where people are actually showing examples with the work that they're doing.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they're using data to solve the world's problems. We're sharing all the tips, tricks, and nerdy fun bits to make you the best data professional you can be. Today with us, we have Jonathan Yamasaki. How are you doing today?
Hey, Monica, thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
So typically, we start off all of our episodes by understanding people's origin stories because we're all nerds here and we love origin stories. So, if you could please tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career.
Yeah, of course. My origin story was honestly a tough one. So I like to share this because I there's folks out there that I think are looking for a support system and looking for individuals. And so I grew up here in South Phoenix. I grew up in like the hood and essentially went to like a Title One high school, and it wasn't the safest. It wasn't it wasn't the best supportive environment. And I even grew up with some turmoil at home. I say this on the podcast where I faced child abuse, and I'm a survivor of child abuse. And through that, thankfully, my relationship with both my parents are great. And even when I was in middle school, I joined a gang. I don't have any tattoos to show for it, thankfully, because my mom would have whooped my butt if I did. So I was scared of her more than like folks out in the community. And I took that story and I was able to show it to the world and earn scholarships to pay for college. So I was the first in my family to graduate from college. And at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a career, but I always felt like I wanted to start a business or work in some sort of way to help individuals, help folks. And for the last 8 years, I've worked in the public, nonprofit, and private space. So I worked in education, workforce development, and consulting, and now construction. So I've spanned in a lot of different industries, and now have been starting in data. And I this is the first time I've ever done construction because I thought it just had to deal with like people on the ground, laborers or power equipment operators. But now I'm realizing that there is technology that's like really important in the construction industry. So that's the short version of my origin story, and I'm here now, and I'm happy to go into more details.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think interested you into the construction industry or the data side of things in the first place?
Yeah, so it wasn't the construction industry that interested me; it was data. Originally, and I love to be like real with people on the show, I wanted to be a product manager. And I chose the worst time to try to be a product manager. It was during this time where salaries were being inflated for AI PMs, and also a lot of people were going into tech. Layoffs were happening. And this was after my second layoff from a consulting company that I worked for, and I was just looking for roles that could be a great segue into a product manager role. I landed across data. I heard about what a data analyst does, and a lot of the things that I got from it that I already had were skills that were transferable. Those skills were being having business acumen, uh, being a good storyteller, working cross functionally with different teams, and that was a skill set that I've already had. And I also had emotional intelligence, understanding how to work with people and tell what they're feeling without them actually be communicating that with me so that I can work well and we can, come up with a cohesive plan. And I thought, okay, this is good. Data, this route, it sounds interesting. The thing is, I've had this self doubt in my head where I thought I needed to be really good at math, or I thought I needed to be an expert in like technology, just have strong technical acumen, where that's why I never chased it. And I landed across this opportunity because there's a company called Open Classrooms. So shout out to Open Classrooms. I'm actually an apprentice in that program right now, and they do boot camp styled curriculum, but they also do apprenticeships through partnerships with small to medium sized companies all across the globe. So they're not just in the US, they were actually started in France. And they have a partnership with the US Department of Labor that if you do the apprenticeship for the entirety of the year, you get a certificate from the US Department of Labor saying that you have data analyst skills or you have application development skills. And they're great. They're really supportive. They give you a mentor. They teach you the skills, but they also upskill you. So folks who already have a year to 2 years experience of that in of like product management or software development or data analytics, they also help you to like improve on that. And I was like, all right, well, data seems like a route that I can go. And there's this company that is free to join, and I'm in like my 30s, and all those other programs that are for like people just out of college, or I didn't fit into those groups. So then I said, all right, well, this is going to be it. And that's how I landed my data role.
That's amazing. So, in this program, Open Classrooms, what kind of work or projects were you on during that time?
All right, I'm going to share my screen. So then just to explain, this is like the dashboard that shows my progression in 7 projects that I work on as a data analyst apprentice for the company that I get partnered with. So when you join Open Classrooms, they help you find a job along with getting a mentor. And yeah, and this is it's incredible. Like I'm learning about data modeling. I'm learning about performing a data analysis, statistical modeling, understanding how to use Python, SQL, and understanding how to use different visualization tools so that I could get that experience with Power BI and Tableau. They let you kind of choose one, whichever you're most comfortable with at first, but it's really exciting. And even as I'm showing you the website, if we go to like to courses, they have other courses that you can take even outside of what you're already learning, and it's nice. So it's like imagine Coursera, a Udemy, a LinkedIn. It's like if they gave you if it was or LinkedIn Learning, it's like if they gave you a mentor and a job, and it's all free. And it's just been an incredible journey being a part of this program because I feel like it's really helped boost my career and help me also build that confidence that I do have data analyst skills.
That's awesome. So I really like that they pair you with a company and the projects that you're working on actually benefit the company. And so you're working with real data. And that's
Mhm.
something that you hear a lot with folks that are trying to get into the data analytics space is that it's so hard to get that real life experience when you don't have real life experience. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really happy that I got this experience because I got to really jump in all types of data sets working here at Kuniqlo, and even things that are in like government, working with different government agencies to pull data from their softwares,
Yeah.
which has been fun.
So, what kinds of projects, I guess, are your most favorite projects to work on as a data analyst?
Yeah, the type of projects that I'm enjoying right now, there's actually one that's really exciting. Um, under the administration, there's been a change in a certification across the United States for subcontractors. So this could be a landscaper, someone doing light fixtures, barricades, whatever it may be, for folks that are disadvantaged business enterprises. They call them DBEs or minority. in different states, sometimes they call them something different: minority business enterprises, women owned business enterprises. And because the administration has a different, they have different viewpoints on these sort of like funding or certifications that help these groups get big contract jobs. They are canceling, or they're redoing that certification, and they are also taking away that certification from folks who use that as the main source of income. Now, this is where it's tough, because let's say I'm Mexican and Japanese, right? And my business, more than 51% of it is minority owned. A lot of times these government funded contracts are looking for minority owned businesses because they have less access to those opportunities. And the government, well, the administration wants us to prove, well, how are you less fortunate? Now, it's tough to prove that. Like, how do you prove that? Some businesses are not keeping like inventory on, like, why am I poor or not getting access to those opportunities? And this is one project that I worked on, is in the for one agency here, Arizona Department of Transportation. I was able to pull all the reports from every physical year, the last 3 years, on how much funding was going towards these groups, DBEs and um, MBEs, minority owned businesses, disadvantaged, right? And with having to do some ETL and like, well, I pulled the reports. Some of it was PDF, so I had to use like some Python, create some automation because it was stressful on like reading that. But I won't go too deep into that part. But I ended up pulling all this fragmented data. Well, the data there wasn't fragmented. The data there, it was there. I pulled that data, and I ended up doing a pivot table. And Excel is amazing. I still use Excel. Excel's great.
It
For
is.
folks, yeah, for folks who still don't use it, or for folks that say it's not, it is. And and I ended up doing pivot tables to show like who was getting, how much money they were earning, these DBEs, how many like general contractors were hiring these DBEs. Why? Because what we're working on is we're doing presentations in the community so that they can recertify, because they these companies, they can recertify as DBE, but they need to prove why they're disadvantaged, and we're using the data to explain why they are, not because they're simply brown or black. And you know, work is work. Administration, it's always changing. Politics change, but not business. So this is where we come in to help them so that they can continue to receive services that are supporting them. And I mean, I can tell you what my political views are, but I won't get into that too much. So that's one project that's fun. So then she got that data and she presents it to them. She shows them where specific businesses stand, and why that's important to them. Because some don't even know, should I recertify? Like, do I need to do it? So we show them like, oh, this is why you should, or where it's all going. And this is just one agency. This is just the Department of Transportation with Arizona. I mean, there's so
Wow.
many other agencies that do public infrastructure or construction builds.
You're so plugged into the community, the tech community, and just like general communities around and really helping out others. And so I want to deep dive into this and get a little bit more nerdy into our fun bits.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
So we talked a little bit previously, and you mentioned a group called Rainbow Fish Tech Collab. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Tell us more about that one, please.
Yeah. So Rainbow Tech Fish Collab, they're a group and that started. This was before I got into data analytics, and I wanted to be a product manager. And I told myself, if all right, I can't get this role, I'm just gonna make it. I'm just gonna like work with a team of folks who are laid off slash boot campers that just finished a boot camp, that are wanting to continue to work on their skills and their craft. And so I heard about this group because I was just networking and getting plugged into different tech spaces here. And they're a group that we build like products, and we're building we've worked on a web app called Fetched, and the app essentially helps individuals, pet owners, uh, track their prescriptions, the stool of their animals, their habits, and their eating, so that they can have like a report and a dashboard to show their vet in case of an emergency if they need to take their pet, like, oh, what's going on. And so that's something that we worked on together, and that was really fun. I got to work with them and be like the product manager to help them with their GitHub and organize their task. And that was really cool because that's when I got to understand terminology with engineers, like understand how they work,
Yeah.
and understand like how they what motivates them, and what they need from me so that they're most successful to get this out on time, because we try to set timelines since there's no deliverable going to anybody. It's just us building a project.
Yeah. So you talked about transferable skills in the beginning, and so I'm curious to talk with you about transferable skills between this product manager role and a data analyst, and what kind of like brings those together.
Yeah. So the transferable skills is, I mean, with data, you have to work with different teams, and you have to ask for things, and you have to influence individuals, um, so that they can help you in what you're trying to get. As simple as that. Because like when like in the where I'm working, it's a small company, but I still work with like different teams. And when I ask for reports and they have software licenses to things that I don't have because I just don't have that software license, they only have enough for one person. I have to kind of explain to them in layman's terms what I need specifically so that they can go in and get that for me. I think that's kind of similar when you're trying to work in like building like a product, because sometimes there's moments when you're building something, you have to know what sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So it's good to like ask them and go back and forth, and then you'll find what it is that you're looking for. Um, so that's the similarities, is like work, because I was working with engineers and designers, and I would see sometimes in our meetings, engineers were talking about something specific. Designers didn't know what they were referring to. And coming in to mediate is like, that is a skill set within itself, because if you can, if you're able to translate jargon or tech lingo to people from a different space, then that can help like remove bottlenecks when people are delivering something, but that's not what you asked for.
Mhm.
So that's something that I've had to do in my current role, and I've done it as like a acting product manager for this Rainbow Fish Tech collab when we built the Fetch uh, web app.
That app sounds so useful for pet owners.
Yeah, and then we did that because we're all pet lovers.
Yes. So with the transferable skills stuff, I liked your perspective of you being a translator and you're able to remove the bottlenecks. So a lot of data analysts, they realize that they have to be that translator between the business and the tech side. But we just talk about, being that translator, but not really talking about how much benefit that is to removing bottlenecks. So it's good that you brought that up.
Yeah, and I think, and to add to that, it's important because like even when I where I was working is we were trying to move from Excel spreadsheets to a different software. And the software that we're using, we needed to make sure that whatever it is that they're doing on their spreadsheets, it, they uploaded the same way on this software, so that even not just understanding like how to explain to them why we're making this change and what we're doing, but even their workflow is the same as best as possible, so that they're so that there's no time lapse in how effectively they can do their work, and it saves the company time and it saves the employee time. There's no like hurdle, and that is another thing that's like really important, that you have to know as a data analyst or even a product manager, um, if you're working with new tools. And yeah, so I think that's really important. Having that experience is beneficial for folks that are looking to jump into data or or product.
Yeah. Another topic that you actually brought up a couple times was within networking. So
Oh yeah.
you really plugged into the communities, you're a member of all of these different groups. Can you dig deeper into the benefits and why networking is so amazing?
Yes, I love networking. That's like a skill that I've had. So when I told you about my past, my history, it's funny how I got to be a good networker has to do with my criminal activity. So I'm just gonna be straight up. So I used to like slang clothes that I would shoplift, and it's not on my record no more. But I would be a part of this gang. We would go to stores, take a lot of things, and I would talk to people in my high school and try to sell them the clothes that I got at a different rate. And it's funny because it wasn't until a mentor came up to me and said, "You got great networking skills." And that was like the first time someone didn't look at me as just like a person who was brown and another statistic that was probably going to end up in juvie or jail. And that is the moment when I got introduced to networking. Like I was so comfortable with talking with different people in different spaces. And why I love networking is because it's just a way for you to just grow and learn about different things and more than you think about yourself, like what you like and don't like. I would say some of the best networking tips I can give you is be when you talk to folks, don't think that like here's a one funny thing I always do. I always look at them like if they're a baby version, like Boss Baby, you know that movie Boss Baby?
Yes.
I look at them like they're like the baby version in a suit. And that helps me being able to talk to like CEOs and executives. And I try not to start getting super professional. I ask them about what is it like if they're wearing something cool, I compliment on them on it. If I catch them during, I don't know, we're watching let's say it's at a conference or seeing something, I talk to them about that topic. Or if they're having a side conversation, I just sometimes just jump in and talk about that. Oh, what is that about? And the advice so that's some advice of how you can kind of get into a conversation. But the advice I would say when you talk to people is more so giving you confidence and talking to anyone is remember that you always have something to provide, whether that's if you actually do have advice to give them or feedback on whatever it is they're working on or they're building, or their profession, or if it's just a new perspective and you're kind of talking to them about what it is they're doing or problem they're solving. Because even when they're talking out loud, for the most part, we figure things out.
Yep.
And when they're doing that, people always remember the feeling of a conversation. Not exactly what was said always, but the feeling. How did you make that person feel? If you were polite, respectful, and they were excited and ecstatic because of, you got them to talk, that's great. And then you'll find folks that really are different and it just won't, the vibes won't match. But I think that's the best advice is knowing that you could always provide value no matter what.
Hmm.
And, and that's something I have to tell myself every time when I go into a conversation so that I can like keep my back straight, good posture, head up high. I think that those things are really important, especially for folks who are really like shy about that.
Absolutely. You just mentioned posture. I was like, oh, gotta straighten my
Yeah, I
back.
know. I'm leaning forward because my desk, but yeah. Another good advice that I have for individuals is following up. Following up is really important and following up in different ways, making it intentional, your follow ups. There is an opportunity that I'm going after with a large engineering firm. And because I followed up 10 times, they officially built a role for me because they had a need. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's still in the works, but it's 4.5 months in the making, and they're a large company, like 4,000 employees. So um, this is the beauty of follow up, and what you do in follow ups is, I mean, obviously you can say your typical, hey, just wanted to follow up, right? But like to catch their attention, I mean, the little things you could do is maybe there's an article related to their role industry and saying, "Hey, I just thought about you." Do that as a third follow up. I just thought about you, and I read about this. It's really cool. Um, I know you don't have much time. Let me know if your thoughts on this, and then I would love to just like get a coffee if you have time. So that's a good follow up. And even if it's a podcast, if it's something that it's from like a blog, and I would just saying like, I think this is something you would really find value in. I get bold, honestly. Some of my best ways that I've like gotten to people's DMs is like just like making that point of something like I'm trying to remember when I used to podcast. There was an individual, Art Bell. He's the founder of Comedy Central, and I remember how I got him on my podcast was I read his book. So I did my research. So do your research. Definitely do your research. That's important. But I did my research and I read his book and I heard about him kind of talking smack about somebody on there. So I won't say too many words, but I'll let y'all read it. But he was talking smack about someone who's actually a satire pundit or whatever that's on television right now. And I told him about I just kind of like left on the comment line, why do you hate him so much? And then also like would love to interview you on my podcast. um, so then that caught his attention, and he appreciated I read his book, and that was on my podcast, Go Entrepreneur Yourself, that I used to have. I don't do it anymore, but that's a good way, just like finding something that you can connect with.
So, one question that I ask all my guests is around learning.
Mhm.
So, when you're going about something that you don't really know too much, what is your approach to learning that new thing?
Yeah, no, that's great. So I first is understanding how you learn. I think that's very overlooked, and I'm speaking from experience because you need to know how you learn, and you need to also find out where how to like make sure that your brain is optimal so that you are receiving of that learning, because willpower will only get you so far. Willpower is good, motivation is great, but you need to understand like the science behind how your brain functions, what food you should eat, what vitamins you need to take. I'm being serious about this stuff because
No, I get it. Like when I was in college,
Mhm.
before my tests, I would always have fish. I don't know if you've heard that or if that's even a thing or a myth, but I would always eat fish before an exam.
Yo, that's awesome. I've never heard that. Why? What is it about the fish?
I don't know if it's the omega
Oh
3s or
yeah,
I'm
probably.
not sure. I'm not sure.
No, hey, everyone has their like thing, and if it works for you, stick with that. And for me, what I like to do when I learn new things is go back to understand how I learn. So I'm a kinesthetic and visual learner. So everything that I take in, I need to make sure that it's not just auditory; it's like visual. So I like
Mhm,
watching videos. So I like watching tutorials. I like using AI to my advantage, and I prompt it in a way where this is how I like to learn, wrestle. I like to wrestle with my mind. Don't give me the answer unless I like hit a wall multiple times. So that's if I'm trying to learn like a new concept. And Notebook LM on Google is great because
yes.
that's a great resource. That one I used work starting here with because I didn't understand compliance and labor hours for like this company Cuniclo. I know nothing about the construction industry, and that was really helpful because it like builds a podcast episode for you to understand what it is that you're if it's a report you're reading that's 100 pages, or if you're trying to just learn a new concept, and they give you flashcards. They have I think they might have some sort of video feature now, and I know that if I can tackle different ways of learning, kinesthetic and visual, auditory sometimes works, but that's like my least one because we're all a little bit of all of them, right?
Mhm.
um that's how I learn new things. And most important, doom scrolling, but this is like I can't think of a fancy word to say this, but like doom learning. There we go. Doom learning. I'm gonna call it
Ooh.
doom learning, where you just keep on getting certs, keep on studying the thing, whatever topic it
Mm.
is, but you don't have work to show for it.
Honestly, I got into that and yeah, it was not helpful.
It's not, and also avoiding the project too, like not doing the case study, the project you have to do for it, because I get that way where I get that satisfaction, that dopamine hit of like, okay, I did course 1, now course 2, whatever. Being able to put it into practice, and if you don't have a way, like make your own projects, go out in the community and build an app, a web app that's for like animals, like the rainbow fish tech collab, or go ahead and find a business that you can like work with. If you already have a full time, like definitely do it on your free time, and use those skills that you learn. Just talk to them. Hey, I just learned something new, and is it cool if I could do this for you? Is this a problem you have? I think trying to apply it to real life is where you start to where a lot of the learning happens, and I like doing that. I like
Mhm.
doing that, and so that's how I learn new things.
Yeah. A lot of folks have problems trying to find relatable projects that they can do on their own. What advice would you have for kind of finding those projects that are meaningful?
Make it easier on yourself. Like, what do you really enjoy? Let's say you love football. You're like a big football fan, and you got a sports team you follow. You're all about the analytics, right? You're doing parlay bets and such. Finding like a company that literally does an event. It's called Big Data Bowl. So then you can
Ah,
sign up. It already finished for 2026, but you could like build things for the NFL where teams can scout your skill sets. So you could do the data visualization track or leaderboard track, and then you could do this to present to them, and you can win cash money prizes and find people that want to do this with you. That's why networking is important. Like for me, I love music, so I have to find something that has to do with like analytics, with like maybe Spotify, my listening, or maybe like artists, starving artists that don't get enough credit for the amount of like downloads and views they get, versus like how much they should be being getting paid. So like finding what drives you and volunteering. Like for me, I'm on a board here in Arizona called Skills USA that helps young adults go into trade or vocational schools, and go into fields that are like your non-traditional. So nothing that has to do with college. It's all being a welder or being an esthetician, whatever it may be. And we are helping folks through like leadership conferences here, connecting them with local businesses. And that to me is a passion of mine, is like having people get access to higher education that's not just college, but also something else that can work for them. So I think finding with an organization you volunteer you or something you like, that can help you find a data project that you can take on.
so do you have any final words of encouragement or recommendation for those folks out there that are interested in breaking into the data space?
Definitely check out Open Classrooms, and that's a free resource. Find a program that can help you at any stage of your life upskill. And some advice, I just start somewhere. Like if you get all this, there's so much noise out there on like what to do and what to start with, especially with data, like what tools you use and software in general or tech in general. um, the advice that I'll give to you is don't follow where the noise is. Follow where people are actually showing examples with the work that they're doing. Follow like a blog or someone that you start kind of like getting an affinity towards. Um, so that's some advice, to start getting into data, and talk to those people in the comments. Like start adding them on LinkedIn. Just say, "Hey, I saw you comment on Earl the data guy's thing. I love to connect with you," just to start making conversation. Because if you don't think that's important, you're you're missing the point on why networking is going to help you get a job. You're missing the point. That's so important. You have to do that work. And I know it's tough, but it is really helpful to connect with people. And people like talking about the work that they do. And One quote is, what excuse are you hiding behind today that's keeping you from being successful tomorrow? So just remember that, because that's how you tune out the noise. For me, I don't know if I have ADHD yet, but I have to check. But sometimes I get distracted with my phone, or I kind of like pick up and do something. I get sidetracked. So I think that's like really important. And then this is a good rule. This was from Paul Coelho. This quote: if you want to be successful, you must respect one rule: never lie to yourself.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, thank you so very much, Jonathan, for coming on the show. If any of the audience members have any questions for you, where can they find and or follow you?
Yeah. So they can, if anybody wants to be in touch with me, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Jonathan. That's my first name, Jonathan, and last name Yamasaki, Yamasaki. Or even even Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Jon Yamasaki, and uh, and then my email too, J and Yamasaki 93 at gmail.com. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me. Any of those work. Probably the best would be email or LinkedIn.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Jonathan. And as always, folks, happy learning. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Data Podcast for Nerds. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you want to transition your career and become a data professional, follow me on LinkedIn for even more tips, tricks, and nerdy fun bits.